What did we get ourselves into?
I don't know. Anyway, welcome back. This is the Dadless Podcast Group. I'm the Elder. He's HD. If this is your first time tuning in, the Dadless Podcast Group is a podcast about nerdy things.
To simplify it, yeah.
We talk about anime and TV and movies and comics, and now a lot of D&D. In fact, this is probably just a D&D podcast at this point.
We could catch up on other things.
But those things aren't interesting right now.
I think we've been fully enamored with this for, at least 6 months, right? At least half a year now? Because we started in October, so...
And we've been playing pretty consistently?
I would say. And I know even before that we were, looking into it. So, yeah, I mean, we've been enamored with this for probably almost 6 months, maybe. For
but
sure.
It's, fully, in the trenches now, with player handbooks and lore and, the various avenues, like YouTube, Critical Role.
And dice.
I'm content with the dice that I have right now, but also I know I want more dice.
I have a buddy of mine, Mark. He plays, and he's been playing for a while now, for a few years. And his collection is a collection of maybe 6 die sets. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, I have a lot of die sets. So I'm like, is this the norm? Is 6 average when people consider a lot? Because right now, I think last time I counted, I was at 24 full sets of dice.
I had a meager collection of little dice sets. But then I bought that Poundo dice. Yeah. And I've taken, I just kind of nitpick, through the ones that I like. So it's just there. But recently I found this girl on Instagram.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. Pause. She makes keychains. Mm. So, people have, the little, libraries out in front of their house.
Yeah.
Okay, well, she makes keychains.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, leave a keychain, take a keychain. Or leave little objects for keychains. So she makes, her little videos are about making keychains out of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have a lot of extra dice that I don't use. So I bought a keychain maker, and it's just a little hand drill, some epoxy, and then the little extensions,
That's tight.
See how it goes. I have an idea right now. I have that I'm working on. So
I like that.
I was at Hobby Lobby earlier. I went and got some extra supplies. Mm. I'm going to try to make something.
That's tight. I know my girlfriend was interested in making sets of dye, out of resin. Mm. But that's a whole operation, and you need a lot of space, which we don't have a whole lot right now.
That is another thing that I would like to do, because I've seen those as well, from the various the D&D groups on Facebook, and then it started on Facebook, and then I actually seen reels and stuff of people making them with the casts and whatever.
Yeah,
and I think that's really interesting. One thing that I did see pretty recently, you and we both went to the Ohana Comic-Con, their event in Turlock. Mm-hmm. There was a stand there, a couple of gals that were making 3D printed, it's like little fidget figures and whatnot. They made 3D printed D20s.
Yeah.
But they were in pieces. So you buy them in it looks like a little stack, puzzle pieces, and then you put them together and it makes the D20.
That's tight.
And I was like, fuck, that's crazy.
I saw they had some glass ones in that same Comic-Con, but they were pretty big. I would say the size of a softball. And apparently they're practical. They're really balanced and they roll normally. Mm. But it's more of a decorative piece. But if you want to use them for D&D, you can. You just got to roll them on a mat. Otherwise, it's going to break a table.
For sure. I still want some wooden dice.
Yeah.
I think I'm really drawn to that look, that style. I think it's fucking cool. There was that stand, the D&D vendor that was there that you and I were looking at. She had obsidian dice.
Yeah, those are tight.
Cool as fuck, but I would never use them.
I have the set that I got for Christmas, the glass set, and those are fucking dope. But I don't know if I would buy another expensive set like that just for general use. I feel like general use, you want something a little bit more practical,
I've seen some of the cooler ones that, that some of us have that we've purchased online.
Like the D100?
The D100's fucking crazy. That thing's cool. But some of the more decorative, I don't know, they have the Lord of the Rings, the ring inside of them, but they don't feel balanced.
No,
they don't have the same. And it sounds weird, I know, but if you play D&D, you understand what we're referencing. But if you have one of those in comparison to a normal, I don't know that brand, the brand that we buy from Utopia. Shout out Utopia.
Chessex?
Yes, shout out Utopia. But those brand of dice compared to the some of the ones from Amazon. They're not they feel hollow almost.
Yeah.
They're just light. I don't know. It's a feel thing.
Well, the ones that again, the set that I have, they're super balanced and everything. I just don't want to break them. Like that's the thing.
But that too, it's
because I'm like so scared to like mess them up, you know?
a good amount of you have the metal dice.
Oh, those are no
And that's
metal
cool,
dice are
but-
super impractical.
But fuck, they don't seem.
You can knock a bitch out with some metal dice.
Fuck someone up.
Well, that was the first set I got, and I thought, like, dude, this set's so cool. This thing is gonna be tight. I've used them once, and I never used them again. They're just there for like decorative pieces now. Just practicality speaking, like wise, I think the resin dice are the most practical.
Yeah,
They just are.
I would like some wood ones though. Some wood ones, and I really like the silicone dice, but I feel like they would be just too bouncy.
Yeah, I didn't care for those as much. I could see the appeal though.
I like the look of them.
The look is cool.
I like the look of them. I like the idea of like a silicone dice. I feel like they would just be bouncy, especially like currently we have a gaming table that I bought from a fucking Big Lots that's going out of business. Shout out Big Lots for holding on to it.
R.I.P. Big Lots, Kmart,
Mervin's. That was your
Mervin's. No, that was the first place I got some Heelys.
All the Mexican moms used to hit up Mervin's.
It was La Coles before La Coles.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Mervin's was the one Pokemon that didn't have an evolution until like Gen 3, and then it fucking came up with Coles. Coles. When it came out.
Yeah.
Shout out.
So what's up, man? What are we talking about today?
You know what we are talking about?
Raid Shadow Legends.
You, aside from us playing D&D, you have
Yes, sir.
also taken up DMing.
Yeah.
How has that experience been? Being on the other side of the playing table.
On the other side of the DM screen?
Yeah.
It's been cool, man. So I've been wanting to play D&D for years, but realistically, I thought it was the most confusing game known to mankind. So I just never really bought into it. And especially because I knew that I always wanted to be the player and not the DM. Like I specifically said I'd never want to DM. I don't know why. I just thought like it was really boring. And it was sad not to participate as the hero of the story. But when I started watching Critical Role and I started watching the animated Legends of Vox Machina, I thought, what better way to take control of a situation than to like build the world itself or be multiple characters over the course of the whole campaign. So I started kind of looking into it. I started looking at how Danny was DMing and his style and kind of took some things from what he did. And I just decided to roll with it. I bought the DM's guide and I bought a pre-established adventure book. And I just started rolling with it and I started DMing for a group of friends. At first it was 3. It was 3 people. And that's all that we had interest in. And then we ended up getting another person. And hopefully you'll join up.
Nani?
So I'm really looking forward to it. It's been real fun getting to see the different, I guess, avenues that DMing takes you, and then also adding your own twist to it. Like even today, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the modules that we were doing, and I'm like, this needs something else. Like I want to change this up a little bit. And sure enough, like after doing some research on different things and looking into some other stuff, I was like, this is who I want, or what I want the main villain of this adventure to be like. Because I went into this adventure not having a main villain, and I was like, I need to figure out how to tie this in. And finally today I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And I got it down. So now I kind of, as of today, thinking about, you know, our session on Thursday, I'm like, yeah, it connects now.
How did that conversation start for you guys? Like what alluded to that to be like, hey, we should play D&D?
Like I said, I've wanted to play D&D for a long time, but I never had the friend group that wanted to or whatever. And so then Baldur's Gate came out in 2023. I convinced my best friend Eli to buy it, or either I convinced him or he convinced me. I don't know. But point is, that's how him and I started the conversation about it. And we decided, hey, maybe we should come up with a group of friends to play in person. Like that would be cool. And so we got maybe one other person interested, but 3 people is not enough people to play a full campaign. I mean, you could play maybe like one-shots, but not a whole thing, you know? So we ended up getting some more people over the course of time that were interested, and it ended up being like myself and 3 other people. But then we came into the whole dilemma of like, well, who's going to DM? And so we didn't want to go on like, what is it, Roll20? And like do that. Play online. Like we didn't want to do that. We wanted to play in person. And then I felt really bad because I saw that, you know, our main group started playing, and I left out my friends, and I was like, shoot, I need to do something about this because, you know, now they know that I'm playing without them, and I want to make sure they feel included. So let me try to learn how to DM. Mm-hmm. And then that's how that started. And I just kind of threw myself into it. I didn't know a whole lot starting out, but I feel like with time, and it's really only been a couple of sessions, but with time, it's gotten easier, and I've gotten the flow of things, especially being a player too, like seeing both sides of the coin has been really helpful. So yeah.
I guess like from your standpoint, from you DMing in comparison to like Danny, the Daddy Dungeon Master, in comparison to him, his DMing style, you now DMing, like, do you relate to the, that they call it like the Matt Mercer effect? Like where it's like Matt Mercer's DMing style.
If you've been in the D&D community for an extended period of time, you have most likely heard of the Matt Mercer effect, a phenomenon in which the people who are interested in D&D start their experience by watching Critical Role. They watch the show every week and they get so invested in the whole performance that they can't wait to try it out for themselves. And so they call up their friends, they go to their local game store, they study up on all the most important facets of D&D, they sit themselves down at a table with 3 or 4 other friends, and then it's not the same. The experience is quieter, slower, there's no charisma in the cast, nobody is role-playing correctly, it turns the players sour to the game, they complain about how things aren't as fun as they should be, people get insulted, and the whole thing goes down as one more case of the Matt Mercer effect.
I mean, also, they're all fucking actors, though. You know what I mean? But do you find that you are avidly, like, trying to...
imitate that?
I get to, like, an extent.
Yeah.
Like, you want feeling within what's going on.
Yeah.
For example, currently, right now, from our last session we're playing, we ran into it's a Lago Day, the Nomad's character. We ran into Lago Day's, his now adopted god, his now adopted deity, Venomfang, which is an adult green dragon who they took refuge inside of this old dilapidated wizard's tower. Danny turns around and says, yeah, these guys have been, like skulking around. They've been bothering, Venomfang, I guess I should say. These guys have been coming around and bothering me. They represent the cult of the dragon. And for me, as much as we like get into the lore and stuff outside of like our, us playing,
yeah,
I was fucking so excited because I was like, oh my God, it's Tiamat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I dig that a lot. Tiamat's one of the deities within the lore that like I'm really interested in. Like, do you find yourself trying to like, I don't know, just bring like that feeling of like excitement and shit when you're DMing?
Yeah. Like I think one of the things that I don't want is a straightforward story. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want you go to point A or you go from point A to point B to end up at point C and then you win, mm-hmm. right? Like I don't want the campaign to feel like you're just trying to complete a set of tasks and then eventually win. Like you don't win in D&D, right? You create a story and background and feeling, and I think that's what I want to kind of take on. So what I try to do a lot of is I've tried to add like a lot of foreshadowing, mm-hmm. or maybe drop hints to like things that people could pick up in the future. Stuff like I think in one of the sessions that I did early on, the group ended up coming into a bandit camp, and in that bandit camp, there's potential for like cults to be kind of included in this campaign, and someone within one of the cults is called the Mud Sorcerer. You don't know who it is. You don't know if it's a cult, if it's a group of cults. Like you don't know what like specifically it ties into, but there was a letter that the bandit captain in the bandit camp received from the Mud Sorcerer, and it was signed Mud Sorcerer, and that's it. Like that's all the information that you get. So now I guess the party, they're on the search for the Mud Sorcerer, whoever that is, right? You don't know if you're going to find him now, if you're going to find him 10 sessions from now, but it's setting in little hints like that to where it's like, hey, you remember that callback from session like 3? Well, now it's going to play out in session 15, 16, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So definitely trying to make it, I guess, a setting that's alive and has moving parts outside of the party, mm-hmm. Or the playable characters. For sure, I would love to be a Matt Mercer-esque DM, but I feel like that's also going to take years of DMing because he has at least 20 years on me.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be hard to obtain at some point.
Obviously, like Matt Mercer's the GOAT. And obviously that's what they've built like Critical Role on. Is like their playing and the feelings and shit that they bring, to the table. Like, but also again, they're actors.
Yeah.
They're able to fulfill that like you would a stage play, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of like when they're rolling and then, they're still trying to act out this scene, but then they fucking hit a nat 20 and they break the scene. They're like, nat 20, fuck,
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. I think realistically, or I guess currently, like to my understanding, D&D's made like a big like resurgence now
There's a renaissance going on for
because
D&D.
so many people are into it. But also it brings up the whole thing of like the certain problematic issues that like, a Critical Role bring, or like a Dimension 20 with Brendan Lee Mulligan, who's also a fucking tremendous DM.
Well, he's doing the one-shots right now, right?
Yeah, he's doing the one-shots. It's like that style of DMing.
Yeah.
Where you could find smaller channels, the fandom, they will find them and they'll, watch them and get into them in the same way. But like I found a group, I don't know where they're based out of, but their DM is English. He's an English guy and he's, the same way, very, very fucking like high fantasy, high acting. One of their scenes was like, I think a cleric, maybe a sorcerer, because they were communicating with their deity, that they pull power from. So maybe a sorcerer. And it was basically like the sorcerer had, they did something to, basically the deity was like, are you questioning me? Like, and I give you all this power and everything you've been able to do, like, is because of me. Mm-hmm. And now you're turning around and questioning why I would have you do something, why I would grant you all this power. And it's like that there's this whole give and take. And so the deity takes the fucking power from their spellcaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's this whole thing that it's now everybody on like these Zoom fucking panels and they're oh my God, fuck.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you doing that genuinely? Like, are you reacting genuinely to the situation? Like you're that involved with what's going on? Or are you doing that because you're trying to produce something so that you can get views and like,
right.
Is it naturally occurring?
Yeah.
And I guess that's where some of that issue is that people are trying to do too much of the Critical Role style playing.
Yeah.
When, practically like Brendan Lee Mulligan has said, he's like, dude, people get disappointed when I play with them because I have like a dry erase board and Mancala beads. Because it's just not, it doesn't, what he's doing on like a production level isn't the same.
One, you could try to imitate, but don't aspire to be or replicate that because you could be the same style DM, right, as a Matt Mercer, but you can't expect your players to be the same players as Travis, as Laura Bailey, as like any of those guys, because like you said, they've had years and years of acting, whereas these guys, they're probably like just working a 9 to 5 and have no acting skills and didn't, So that's the thing is I just want to evoke a sense of adventure. Like that's all I want to do. Like that's my main goal is just, can I take these guys away from their typical roles in real life and just kind of have them be something different for 3 to 4 hours a night, That's I guess my goal of it all. So I hope the reactions are genuine that I'm getting,
I posted about today and like I was telling you, obviously outside of the pod, I found all this D&D shit thrifting. And I was like, fuck, I guess I have to learn how to DM. And I would love to fucking learn how to DM to bring that sort of like, so that everybody can fucking enjoy it. But I guess, realistically, like I would hope that everybody fucking enjoys it, like everybody has fun and they get really involved and like they're into what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that would be like my biggest like hesitation about learning how to DM
is other people's reactions.
Yeah, well, and then also like again, I'm not that smart, so I don't know that I could fulfill the position of a DM. You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily think it's about knowing all the rules, because even in the middle sometimes of say the party that I'm DMing for, say they have a question about something and they're like, oh, can I do this? And I'm like, oh, shit, I don't know. Can you? And so I have to take like a quick recess or a quick time out and go into the DM's guide and just check something, maybe for like 3 to 5 minutes and take away from that immersion, right? I think it's just more about having an idea and having the creativity to do something like that. And I think that's where a lot of it is can I take this and run with it and make it my own? And improv, it's a lot of improv because you cannot plan for what your characters are going to do. You could plan for what you're going to do and your NPCs are going to do, but a lot of it is just reactionary to what your player characters are doing. Anybody could DM, man. I don't think it takes like a specific skill set. I think you just learn as you go.
I like someone's post that they did on Threads. It was like, I've been playing D&D now for 2.5 years. And they're like, how long has everybody else been playing? Like, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. And And I was like, oh, awesome. Liked it. And then they were like, yeah, I DM'd a session the other day. And I was like, you know, from the way that I see shit, I was like, you've been playing for 2.5 years and you're fucking DMing. But then again, yeah, like I guess it's more of a, like an intuitive thing, or, you know, however you happen to pick it up, that it's like, oh yeah, like I DM, like fucking whatever. Cause I would love to fucking do that for our group. I love that type of shit. Like to be able to do that. I'll make all the fucking noises.
Yeah.
And talk all fucking goofy. Do you do that?
Yeah.
That's fucking tight. I think that shit's cool.
And then I have like background music playing. Like,
I think that shit's fucking crazy.
if I could have a setup with like lights and stuff, I would, but that's a little bit too much for the budget right now.
I know. I watched this guy, him and his D&D group. He did a video where he built the garage into a D&D, like their room, and then they like have their cameras set up to play, but also like they painted, and they then he did one where he built their D&D table.
Yeah. Is it the guy with the fog machine?
Yes.
I would love to do something like that at some point.
Yeah, you know? Definitely. There's a guy, in fact, that I guess he's been playing D&D for, I don't know, we'll call it like 40 years.
Damn.
He's been playing for a long time. And at this point, on the side, like from YouTube and social media and stuff, he's become very, very popular within like the community, to the point where you can sign up to join a game, like a campaign, one shot, whatever, and he'll bring you out like in groups of, you know, however many, and people go and play just to have like the weekend or the week
of that experience.
And I'm like, that's so fucking sick. And he has like, I don't know where he plays out of, like if it's his own like estate or if he has like a little compound that he does. And he's like, dude, I just like to play D&D. And he's like, and I love the community aspect of D&D, and that's why I do this now.
In London, Ontario, there lives a man whose basement is unlike anything you've ever seen. This is Robert Wardoff.
Hi, my name is Robert Wardoff.
Robert has been playing the same Dungeons & Dragons campaign for over 30 years.
35 years to be exact. We have people coming from all over the country to play, often flying in. The game has always been determined really through friendship. It's really been a way that I keep my friends together. I knew early on that if I was able to create a game that was good enough, and that means it had to be better than video games, it had to be better than any other game they could find, that they would keep coming, no matter where I was.
You know, when I think about it, like people doing it for a bunch of years, like that guy doing it for 40 years, people doing it for 2.5 years, and then us doing it for 6 months. One of the things I always said was, I want to find a hobby. Like, I play video games, and video games is still my favorite hobby, but it's very similar. Like, you just get in front of a screen and you play whatever game, and the games is what's different, right? But I always wanted to find something where maybe I could like go out and do something, or spend time learning about something, honing my craft, and something that's multifaceted, right? Like with D&D, you have figures, dice, you have forums, you have articles that you could read, like books, all these other things. I wanted something that could take my time in different ways, and I think like this is that thing for me, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I think I couldn't agree with you more. I think this is the first time that I've had an actual hobby.
Yeah.
I would say comparative to, well, I don't know, like when we were younger, shout out to Vandal Squad, but when we were younger, like we would skateboard.
Yeah.
But like, is that a hobby or is that an extracurricular like activity, you know? Because I mean, that's what we did, you know? And yeah, we played video games and we just fucking hung around. Like that's the basis of even the idea of podcasting comes from. It was that, like the shit that we did. And in hindsight, like I talk about it with he's like my fucking brother, my friend Mondo. I'm like, dude, if we knew what podcasting was, like at that time, because there were definitely podcasts around.
Yeah.
Like really, like the guys that I was like super, super drawn to, it was a podcast called Effed Up Stories. And their whole thing was very much like streaming, basically. And they would talk about the, you know, paranormal and supernatural shit. These guys from Canada. I absolutely was so fucking enamored with what they were doing. And I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, because I didn't understand like the idea of podcasting. But I was like, I need to know what this is. Like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember tuning in for the very last episode where they were like, this is the end. And I was like, what the fuck?
What do you mean?
And then they come in and it's very somber. They're like, hey, we're just going to get right to it. Like, we work 9 to 5s. We have families. And I could even still like thinking about it, it hurts me in such a way that they're like, we just can't do it no more. Like if so-and-so co-host wants to go ahead and do it without me, they're more than welcome to. Like my hat goes off to them. Obviously this is a team effort.
Yeah.
If he wants to continue without me, he's like, I just can't, like one of the hosts.
Damn.
And I'm like, oh my God, dude. But like now doing this, what we do, like it's, you know, to bring it back around, it's like all of these things that we fucking do now, like playing D&D, to be able to get together and like, we fucking run the pod to be able to talk about what we're doing.
Yeah.
I love all that shit. Even podcasting, finding out how to produce a podcast and record. And I would say at first it was a hobby. I mean, it definitely is a hobby still to an extent. I love that we can do it like when we can, because it's fun. Like I genuinely enjoy shit like this, but it also does like an extent of like it helps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it helps me.
Like one of the things about hobbies, like it just helps you cope.
Yeah. Okay.
It helps you cope. It helps you manage like the stressors of life. Because yeah, I mean, if you're just doing your 9 to 5, getting home, cooking food, taking a shower, getting in bed, like that's just really routine and mundane. And yes, routines help. Like I think patterns help, and that's a necessary thing. But hobbies just help cope. And if we recall back that 1 to 2 episodes, I don't know, we were talking about like that feeling of like bringing you back to those feelings you got when you'd get a new toy as a kid, or like some sort of fun experience in your youth. For those that had those fun experiences, because I know some people don't always, but for those that did, stuff like this is what helps evoke that feeling again, you know, and really bring that back. And for me, that's been D&D. It just makes you feel like a kid again. I think that's hella cool. This
is the first time in a long time that I've genuinely felt very creative.
Yeah.
And like I'm doing something very constructive with myself. Like this, like the suggestion, the invitation to play your campaign. For me, it's like I hate to impose, because I am an outside party from your established group, you know. Whereas you and the Nomad and Anika, Danny, Jose, Sergio, where we have this little fucking group and we all get together and do our fucking thing.
Right.
The suggestion to play, like the opportunity is, I feel like I am imposing in a way. But then also it evokes like, well, hey, you know, who do you have in your party?
Yeah.
You have a paladin, you have a wizard, you have a rogue, you have a bard. Who can I be?
Right.
What does that mean for me? Like, who is showing up for this?
Yeah.
Like, is it Fred? Is it Scal? Is it someone totally different? Does this give me the opportunity to now
do your own thing?
Do my own thing, like to create someone?
Yeah.
Like it gets the gears going, and then I'm telling myself these fucking stories and creating this lore, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And it wakes me up in a sense. That creativity that, you know, like at times I feel like it's gone. I feel like I've let a lot of that shit just run its course. With D&D, I'm like, fuck, dude, like I could write a book right now. And I just feel that way, you know?
And I think the way that I conceptualized like inviting you to the party, I didn't even know if I wanted to tell you guys that I was DMing, because I was like, fuck, that shit's so embarrassing. Like I'm gonna do horrible, and it's not gonna bode well. So I'm just gonna do it, and if it turns out good, great. If it doesn't, oh well, I didn't tell anybody else, right? We'll do a couple sessions and then call it quits. But then I started doing it, and I was like, dude, this thing is fun. Like I need to talk to these guys about it. But to our main group, right, the group that we know. But then we've only done it for 3 sessions. This one on Thursday is going to be our 4th. And now I could tell you this, with the 4th session, we're finally going to start peeling into where the story really starts taking shape. I gave them the option if they wanted to start at level 1 or level 3. I'm like, we could start from the very beginning, because these guys have never played D&D. I was like, so we could start at the very beginning, and you guys could learn along the way and level up your characters, or we could start at level 3. You guys kind of have a little bit more to work with. It's just you guys really won't know the basics of your character's abilities. You guys need to do that research on your own. And they're like, no, let's start from level 1. So we did a lot of side treks in the first few sessions to get to where we're at. To now, this is really where the campaign starts to take shape. And so I was thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I think of you a lot when I'm talking, like thinking about D&D and like when we play. I know you always look forward to it, and I was like, I'm going to invite this guy and see if he's game. Like, I know obviously this isn't the normal group that we run with, but I feel like just knowing that you really enjoy D&D as much as I do, like that, I was like, yeah, that's gonna be sick. Like I'm gonna add him. If he likes my DM style, great. If he doesn't, oh well. But at least I'm gonna give him that, that invitation to join and see if he's about it. So yeah, that's how I conceptualized it, at least.
I was like, this guy fucking invited me to go play D&D with people I don't know.
They're cool.
But it's like, I know. It's like, it's like starting a job for the first time.
Yeah, it is a different group than our normal group, I will say. Like I told you, this group, they're a little bit on the, I wouldn't say younger side. I mean, we're all around the same age.
I mean, everybody's fucking younger than me, so.
I will say, though, they let their intrusive thoughts run more rampant. But so do you and I, like in the middle of our sessions, right? Like our main campaign, like last week with Fury of Blow instead of Fury of Blows. Like, it's stuff like that where it's really like an adolescent sense of humor.
Yeah.
But it's funny and it's chill. And I think it's different because in our campaign, in our main campaign, we have a bunch of different personalities, right? Like even not just within our characters, but within our, like the people playing those characters. Some people are a little bit more serious, some people a little bit more animated, and even the characters themselves, some are more serious, some are more animated. And so it's just one of those things where these guys over here, they're completely animated. It'll be interesting to see what it's like. And I mean, it's going to be fun. It'll be a cool time.
Like that puts me at ease to a sense because I want to be very fucking animated all the time.
Yeah.
But like with our group, not all of us like give that sort of energy. Right. And so I don't know, like I'm always very hesitant because I don't want to like do it and then like I just look like a fucking weeb or whatever doing it. That hesitation is always there. I mean, nonetheless, but I know everybody. Yeah. So it's just a matter of like how much you turn it on. Right. Whereas if I know that more of that animated style is going on, I'll probably feel a lot more comfortable fucking just doing it. Yeah. It goes back to the whole, we're not actors. We're not, like, we haven't been doing this for super long. Well, like me, my whole, not my whole personality. My whole personality is based on like trauma and shit. But a lot of me, like what makes me is based on like things that I like. Everything's anime to me. Everything is a cartoon to me. Yeah. Everything is a comic, is a scene in a story. That's how I rationalize things. You know, if this was like the 20s, I would be thrown in a fucking loony bin. Because I just rationalize things like very childlike, but not like unrealistic. I wouldn't say ignorant. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of dumb, but not like ignorant, but like more just unrealistic. It's like... Well, I think like, daydreaming, right? Yeah. Or like going through... But it's like a perpetual daydreaming. It's like... Well, dude, things are so negative. A weird example. But I had seen this fucking video... It was LA, which shout out to LA. Everybody who's in Los Angeles, dude, shout out to you. Shout out Los Angeles. Shout out people. I hope things are clearing up, man. I know it's going to take a while, but. It was like a fire chief or something from like a newscast. And he was like, we've been out here all night. Like, we're not stopping. We're not going to, like, we're going to keep fighting. Mm-hmm. And my mind went to like, what if they were fighting monsters? Like, what if the fires are like elementals or something? And I was like, what if that's them right now? And they're just out there fucking going at it. Yeah. And it was that, again, the romanticism of things. Right. And I was like, fuck, that's so fucking crazy. And I was like, shout out them. But that's where my mind goes. It's not like. But I think that's, in a sense, you're adding some sort of creativity or a different perspective, or I don't even know what you would call it, but that's where people get inspiration for a lot of stuff. And I think that's what helps, like, again, taking stuff that's happening in the real world and trying to put a different lens on it. Right. Especially now, man, there's so much shit going on. But hey, that's neither here nor there, I guess. No, we're talking about D&D. We're talking about D&D. There was something that I really wanted to do. We leveled up recently. We leveled up. Level 4. We have these little like ability milestones that come up. Yeah. I had a really hard time about making up my mind. So I had to watch some videos about like leveling up, feats. A feat is what it's called. But I had a hard time about deciding on a feat. And so I had to watch some videos, which shout out Nerdarchy, because they're a channel that I've watched for previous sessions to get some ideas for like D&D stuff. It's not only just them, it's a few other channels, but to boost the characteristics of a cleric. Yeah. I guess, I don't know if you remember, but Danny at one point in our chat had asked like along the lines of like, who's a spellcaster? And obviously, Annika, our druid, she was like, well, I'm a druid. I asked that. Was it you? Okay, I thought it was Danny. But it was like, well, who's the spellcaster? And she was like, well, I'm a druid. Then they were like, well, Fred, but Fred doesn't play like a spellcaster, Mm-hmm. Which I agree. I don't. I think we all agreed with that idea of like a hybrid sort of his combat style. Apparently, that is called a war cleric.
Yeah.
And I found that out. And so I was like, what the fuck, a war cleric? And there's obviously like healers, a war caster, which is the feat class. It's the ability that it grants so that if I'm like with a sword and shield, I can still cast like a guiding bolt or something.
Yeah.
Along with like the melee weapon and stuff. It's not like, it doesn't like cancel itself out or whatever the case may be.
Well, because typically you can't cast if you're holding a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's fucking crazy. I like that term a lot. A fucking war cleric. I was like, that's hard.
Have that shoot out your sword.
Fuck, imagine like Haggard with the umbrella.
Yeah.
Puh. I was like, that's fucking tight. So I'm a war cleric,
That's tight.
and I went with warcaster as the feat. But what I will say is that as a level 4, the amount of spell options that I have now, it was like either the nomad or it was Sergio, and they're like, just know. Oh, I think it was a nomad. Then he was like, just know, I can do magic or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just know, I have some pretty hard fucking spells now.
Yeah.
Like aside from the feat, the spells that I have currently like on my roster, pretty fucking tight.
At level 4 and level 5, you start to gain some like pretty cool spells. So that's exciting.
So I can definitely heal now. I was like,
I have dark vision.
I was like, I am a cleric. But all I had before that was fucking purify food and water. I was like, we don't typically eat or drink. So
We haven't, dude. We're
not.
malnourished.
At no point have we been like, hey, we
should eat.
We need some food. Shawarma. Because I've seen campaigns where people are like, and I'm serving food now. And oh, we're all eating. Ooh, yum. At no time have we been like,
We should eat.
we should eat something.
Where the hell are we going to eat right now where we're at? What are we going to eat? Spider eggs?
This fucking venom. Venom from the fucking dragon.
Yeah. What are we going to eat?
I now have healing spells.
That's tight.
And like, I remember fucking adding them and I was like, and I could feel the power surging. I'm pretty stoked, especially because from what Danny told us, he was like, this is the second longest segment up until the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
And again, to circle back, it's dealing with the cult of the dragon.
Yeah.
I'm fucking hyped, dude.
It's exciting.
I'm fucking hyped. That's some of my favorite lore, like the Tiamat lore. Again, in bringing that up, I really want to learn Curse of Strahd. I fucking dig Curse of Strahd so much.
It's revered as the best adventure book out of like the pre-established adventures.
Yeah.
From Wizards of the West Coast. Or Wizards of the Coast.
Damn Wizards of the West Coast. That's fucking sick, dude. That's hella cool.
That's tight.
Goddamn, Wizards of the West Side. Wizards of Waverly Place.
Fuck. That's tight.
Yeah, I would love to fucking run something from Curse of Strahd.
That was almost like the campaign I invited you to. It was almost that one.
That's fucking, yeah, that's one of them ones, as they say.
Do it. Buy the book and then just read through it. Yeah, see if you like it.
Because it seems cool as fuck. Or Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate has a deep fucking lore. Or I started watching a channel that it breaks them down. And the Baldur's Gate one is like 5 videos long or something. For this one channel that I'm watching. I don't know. I like lore. I like lore stuff.
Well, first, when I started like this whole thing, I was like, which book do I want to do? Because I knew I couldn't come up with a homebrew like for my first one. I was like, there's no way.
I was going to say, what is your... you have a base template like that you're running off of? Like a base source material? Or...
Yeah, it's an adventure book.
Okay.
It's Princes of the Apocalypse. However, with that being said, I bought it because the cover looked cool.
A lot of the fucking covers are, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, this goes hard. And I realized it's one of, if not the hardest to run.
Is it really?
That and then Tyranny of the Dragons. And the reason why is, at least for mine specifically, is because it's too open world, too sandboxy.
Oh, really?
Not enough direction. And so that's what I've been, up until like last week, 2 weeks ago, I was really struggling with like, okay, well now that we're done with the side tricks, like what now? Where now? How? And I've been doing a lot of research on a lot of people that have ran it and things that they did to like kind of circumvent a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm like, okay, this makes 100% sense. So yeah, I'm actually really excited to like take it where I'm taking it. Hopefully everybody goes in that way, but I'm trying to really conceptualize like how do I want this to end, or how do I present the ending to the party. So yeah, it's been cool. But Curse of Strahd, the only reason I didn't do it was because I wanted to be different, and I knew like it's like the best one, and so I was like, do I want to do the best one right out of the gate? I don't know. Do I want to save it? We'll see. But by all means, go for it.
Again, it drips into that sort of horror, like the shit that I'm into, like rocker.
Vampires.
Yeah, like rocker sort of shit, like very edgy, edgelord sort of like.
You must bounce on it. Crazy style.
Like that. Not like that. Not like that. Not like that fucking meme, but I was like instantly fucking drawn to it.
But you could add that kind of stuff to like anything though too, you know, like add that flair to any pre-existing adventure if you wanted to. Do we want to go into a kind of a recap of what we've done so far?
This is about you right now.
It's about us.
Tell me about your campaign. This pod right now is about us, but this campaign, this is about you right now.
Here's the thing. Some of this, please forgive me. I created this last night as a way to recap for you specifically. So I'm going to give you kind of the breakdown of the introduction that I gave them when we first started. Okay.
Which, hey, you know what? Shout out to HD's homeboys who are doing this campaign.
Shout out to them. You'll get to know them very soon. But anyway, are you ready to learn about this campaign?
I am.
I'm going to go ahead and give you the quick spiel that I gave everybody else. Our story takes place in the Forgotten Realms, in the continent of Faerun, a world of strange lands, dangerous creatures, and mighty deities, where magic and the supernatural phenomena are quite real. These lands are populated by many humanoid races and creatures such as dwarves, elves, goblins, and more. A terrible threat gathers in the north. Throughout this region of Faerun, savage marauders bring destruction. Monsters are on the prowl, preying, rampaging through croplands, and attacking homesteads and travelers. In settlements, discord and suspicion grow. Sinister strangers lurk in the shadows, whispering about how everything is soon to change. These unsettling feelings have been brought on by a reasonably warm and stormy spring this year, where tales of flooding, windstorms, wildfires, and tremors are running rampant. Your journey places you in the Desarin Valley, a lightly settled region of caravan towns, isolated homesteads, and uninhabited wilderness, just a week's journey to Waterdeep. Nothing of note to the wider world of the Forgotten Realms has happened here for hundreds of years. The frontier long ago receded far northwards, leaving behind littered ruins. These days, the Desarin Valley has little in common with the popular conception it once did, the savage frontier, the Wild West. Winters are hard here, but the hordes of orcs and other hungry monsters are a long way off from these parts. Now your adventure begins as you have arrived in the town of Red Larch, a small settlement on the western side of the Desarin Valley. Red Larch has been an important stop on what is known as the Long Road for 200 years, named for a distinctive stand of red larch trees that were cut down when their original village was founded. Now a settlement, Red Larch became inhabitable thanks to the drinkable spring that fed a sizable pond ideal for horses, oxen, and pack mules. While Red Larch remains prosperous, dark omens are appearing. The heart of the Somber Hills has become far more dangerous, with monsters lurking everywhere. Banditry is on the rise, and the weather seems to be getting more severe and unpredictable, leaving farmers confused and Red Larch's once popular berry supply limited. Several Red Larch shepherds have seen strange figures watching them from distant hillsides in the wild fields east of town, where they have traditionally grazed their flocks. Quarry workers used to work throughout the long hours of the night, but now shun the pits by dusk, as working through the dark would be considered too dangerous. They are spooked by rumors of dark-robed figures in stone masks lurking in the darkness beyond torchlight. The townsfolk fear that dangerous times are at hand, but no one seems to know what to do about it. You begin at the Swinging Sword, a 3-story tall building which is welcoming and luxurious compared to the rustic standards of the area. There are draperies hung from high ceilings and tapestries all along the wall. There's a faint glow coming in, however, that allows you to see the dust particles floating around the dimly lit area. You wake up and your adventure begins. And that is the first part of the beginning session of our campaign. that is how everybody else was introduced to the campaign.
So how was that starting with them? Because you said they weren't familiar with D&D, or they hadn't played?
Nope. I mean, they were familiar with it probably through like Baldur's Gate, but I mean, that's pretty much where they got their information from.
So how were they upon an initial like starting? Was it like the traditional, like we all meet in the tavern?
Well, we had a session 0, and in the session 0, like everybody came up with like stats and all that stuff. And in session 0, this is how I introduced the campaign to them. And they basically started the campaign. What ended up happening was they all came in, and in this place called the Swinging Sword, there's rooms available to rent, right? So it's an inn, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And like I said at the beginning, like it's not fancy or anything, but it's nice enough to a lot of people to come and bunk here for the night. There's more expensive rooms that you could pay for that are more individual, more secluded. So if somebody wants more privacy, they can get those. But if you're just, you don't have a lot of cash, don't have a lot of funds, and you're trying to just room here for shelter, there's options where you could buy rooms that are large and that are shared spaces. And so they all came in. One was already sitting at the like lounge area. Another one came in from adventuring, and then another one just happened to roll in like at nighttime. And they all ended up unknowingly pitching in for this shared room. And that's how the party ended up meeting each other. They woke up in the morning and they all kind of started waking up at the same time, and they met at this place called the Swinging Sword and in a shared room, and they never knew each other, but that's how their party, or that's how the party started, at least, is just waking up in this area.
From that point, how was the party, I guess, engaged to now go on this adventure?
So what ended up happening was once they woke up, nobody asked for each other's name. They all just kind of stared at each other. So we have what seems to be a bard, right? He's a drow. We have what seems to be a holy warrior, which is the paladin, and he's a dragonborn. And we have half-orcish rogue in this area, and they go downstairs, and they each make their way down at different points at the time. They didn't really know what to do at first, but one of the things that the dragonborn had said, his name is Bale, and he goes, well, Bale grabs his morning star, and he looks over at Ramus. Ramus is the half-orc. And he looks at Ramus very sensually, trying to intimidate him almost, but he fails miserably, and then Ramus just ends up like getting up, walking away in disgust, and heads downstairs. So they're already like off to a bad start, like, What ends up happening is they end up running into the innkeeper. One of them, I think, asked for like ways to make money. Like, do you have any ways to make money? And the innkeeper directed them to the constable of the area. His name is Constable Harburk. And so Constable Harburk, he introduces himself. You could tell like how he's dressed, how he presents himself. He was a pretty rugged soldier back in his day. Like he was in the forefront of a lot of battles, but he's seen fighting. Now in his retired age, he basically delegates and acts as the sheriff of Red Larch, and he tells them about active banditry going on near the area, and if they want to seek this out and get maybe more work in the future. To first take out the bandits and like gives them some direction as to where to go, and they'll continue to talk about more work after the fact. And so they take him up on that offer. The three of them, they still don't know each other's names, but they're all kind of looking for work. And then they end up going kind of in the direction where, the constable said. Their very first encounter, they end up coming across a bunch of wolves. And one of the things, before I keep going, one of the things that the constable said was, bring me back at least one of the enemies that you face. And so when they come across the wolves, they think that the wolves are the enemies that are taking out the local townsfolk, and it's not bandits. So they were very close to just bringing back like the head of a wolf. And so they start decapitating the wolves' heads to bring back the heads of the wolf and be like, hey, here's the people that were taking out, the local townsfolk. But they end up spotting like smoke in the distance, maybe from like a bonfire, from some source of flame that would cause this smoke. And so they end up deciding to go like check it out. Not before though taking one of the decapitated heads and kind of like carving out the flesh of the wolf and like putting it on their heads as kind of like a helmet. Yeah. So one of them is just walking around. It's the rogue actually, just all bloodied from like the remains of this decapitated wolf, but has it as like a helmet. And that's when they start introducing themselves to each other after that battle. And so they go and they find a bandit camp. And at this bandit camp. They start to take out the bandits one by one, but they try to be sneaky about it at first. And they end up getting into like a fist fight with a lot of the bandits because they're surprised by the commotion, and so they don't have weapons readily available. And because of that, they feel bad, them having weapons, and so they just drop their weapons and then go full just fist fight to see who ends up winning. And that is like the first part of the campaign. Like that is essentially what they did at the very beginning. It was a pretty interesting beginning, seeing them like kind of learn the mechanics of the game. And so that took a long time to kind of polish, and they're still learning, but now that they're learning more and more, the game is kind of flowing a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And that was all within the first session. So just a couple things of note. The bard, even though he is a bard, he doesn't really know how to play his instrument too well. So he struggles on performance checks.
Yeah.
The paladin, he is trying to recruit people to what he calls the Golden Order, but he secretly hates orphans. And that's due to his background and his history. And Brahm, he just enjoys stealing things for the fun of it. Not necessarily for treasure, but just he's a kleptomaniac and enjoys stealing things. So early on, they came across a home outside on the outskirts of town where they knocked on the door and a goblin answered the door. And he lives on the outskirts of town because he is a goblin and isn't really seen highly or in high regards. And so they try to stay away from the common folk. And so they don't have a lot of money, right? Like they're just like in their little homestead trying to make it by. And the paladin tries to recruit him to join the Golden Order. And so the goblin asks, like, if this happens, will you protect us? He says, yeah, of course I'll protect you. And so I asked, I'm like, well, are you being truthful or are you lying? And he says, well, I'm lying. I'm like, so roll a deception check to see if you like actually roll well. And he rolled poorly. And so the goblin ended up catching on that he wasn't going to protect him. And like that goes on. So then he closes the door on the paladin. And all while this is happening, the rogue is trying to enter through like a back door or like a window of some sorts to try to steal from this goblin. And so as he does that, he opens up the window through the back. And then he sees another goblin, like there's a bed against the window, and he sees another elderly goblin, and it turns out to be the goblin's mom, like the person that answered the door. It's his mom. And she's like super sickly, so she can't say anything. All she's making is like a bunch of noises. And she's just like, oh, but that's like it. And he ends up stealing the woman's socks, like just to steal something. And so he ends up walking away with socks. So it's like fun stuff like that that's going on. But yeah, they end up clearing out the bandit camp. The bandits, one of them, the boss, was actually reporting to the mud sorcerer, which I mentioned earlier. And the mud sorcerer is some sort of evil doer who is working for some sort of evil organization, which they end up finding out later on that it's some sort of probably cult. So yeah, that's just things to keep note of. That was all within the first session.
What I find interesting, for one, the bard being a drow was hella cool.
Yeah.
Because funny enough, for Scal's backstory, you know, obviously we haven't used the characters like since the one shot. But Scal, when you look into the lore of that character, her father established their sort of kingdom or their homestead within the side of a mountain. And by doing so, he became at odds with the drows that already had been living within the mountain. And it's more of that, it becomes that conflicting objective of like, this is going to be our home now.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other side of that coin, it's, well, this is our home.
Yeah.
Like we want nothing to do with the outside. This is where we are established. We've been here for aeons of fucking time. Like,
right.
This is our kingdom. This is where we reside. But it becomes that conflicting sort of thing where Scal, as the protagonist, well, her father, the position that he's in now, within their council, within this, you know, an elder of their stead, they call him Old Stonehands. That's what he does. He's, you know, because his name came from his craft. Yeah. And so this guy built his fucking stead, this kingdom within this fucking mountain. But in doing that, he drove away a bunch of fucking drows, you know, by clashing in this fucking war. Yeah. Which led down the line to his son, his appointed fucking heir, being killed. And why was he killed? Because he was saving his sister as a child. Yeah. And now Scal, as a penance, you know, is like, well, I am now in servitude of my father to be within the kingdom's guard.
Yeah.
Not obviously not in place of her brother, because her brother's place cannot be taken.
Yeah.
He couldn't feel that ever. But she took from her father what her father is to the fucking kingdom, like a leader.
Yeah.
The leader. And so that's where that whole fucking lore is. But the drows are like underground denizens of this fucking world and shit.
That's tight.
And so it's very cool that he picked the drow.
Yeah.
But I don't think from surface level that you would see a drow the same way that you would see like a high elf. You know, you see them as something totally separate. They are, you know, just elves that don't like the sun.
Well,
you know what I mean?
They're kind of like looked down upon. They're kind of,
Yeah.
It's almost like tieflings, where it's like most people perceive you as some sort of evil or some sort of ne'er-do-well or something. But it turns out that, you know, a lot of them are just trying to get by. And so it's the same thing with this guy. So it hasn't really come up yet because in this town of Red Larch, there's all kinds of people. Like it's the wild, wild west, if you will. And so there's anything from bandits to good common folk or whatever, just hardworking people. They don't really care who you are or where you come from. It's just, are you just passing by, or are you staying here to you know, make a life? As you could tell by like the goblin kind of staying in the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of accept anybody. And so it hasn't really come up yet, the fact that he's a drow, but I'm sure it will at some point.
With the characteristics like in play of the rogue, because I had gone through this. Because again, I have, you know, these random fucking characters that I sit with, and I think of the idea of a rogue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but actually playing a rogue.
Right.
And in this case, you do have someone in your party who's now actively enacting these sort of things.
Yeah.
It's like I'm breaking in. It's comedic, granted, but it's like you're occupied here on one side of the house. The rogue's now snuck around, you know, and is like actively trying to steal.
Yeah.
Whereas, or I had heard a scenario where the party had saved someone and were holding someone for questioning. And they're like, okay, well, now we're going to go inspect this thing over here. Leave this guy in the dungeon. He's a captive. And so the rogue that was in that party is like, yeah, you guys go on ahead. I'm just going to, you know,
Hang out.
And they intimidated the captive, and then they slit their throat. And they're playing like neutral evil, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like chaotic neutral, to where it's like they are problematic players. To where this player was a rogue and would do roguish activity. But then also it was like, do they, you know, are they inherently problematic? Like the person, like, are you being problematic? Or is it the character that is just enacting on the key characteristics of what this person would be, you know?
Yeah.
Because they would betray the party during certain fucking events. They would, during battles, they would like, you know, rile something up, and then they would fucking leave.
Yeah.
In this case, they held a captive, and then the rogue killed the captive, like after trying to extort them.
Right.
And I had thought about that too. Like for me personally, I'm like, do I have the character enough to do this?
Yeah.
And then realistically, when I think about it, I'm like realistically with you guys, let's say we move on to the next campaign. We'll have new characters. I don't want to piss anybody off.
Right.
I don't want to be problematic. But is it me, or is it I'm trying to play a rogue?
But I think that's the thing is if you're playing a character, you're playing a character. Like you go into it knowing, right, that people are going to do things that maybe you don't agree with, right? Like in our last one, like the whole thing that happened with the treasure chest, right? That when we were playing and like that, I was like, it is what it is, right? Like those things happen where like you and the person might not agree on something as like characters. And it's up to you as a person to just kind of be like, well, do I really want to like fight this as a character, or do I just let it go? And it's like, well, I'll just let it go. Or something like that, right? But I think the biggest thing is so long as you keep the campaign moving forward. Like that's where it's like, if you're doing something just to do something and it starts halting the campaign, like the progress of it, like what are we doing, right? Like if it's just ruining the entire story, and that's, I think, being problematic. Whereas things like that, I think you're just playing a character, right? Like slitting somebody's throat, that's a captive, right? Well, now you can interrogate that person, but it seems like something a rogue would do. You have to really determine, you know, where you draw the line, I think. And I think for me, it's, am I halting the progression of this campaign?
To my standpoint, would I want to do that? Yeah, but I don't want to get anybody mad. It's like playing Grand Theft Auto and you obey all the traffic laws.
Right.
Because you really, like, you know, you don't want to be mean.
And it's going to happen. And I think that's where the DM has to step in and be like, try to improv something to circumvent any issues happening, right? And if it becomes a constant issue, well, then that's a separate conversation for the DM and the player, and be like, hey, like, what are we doing here, right? Like, are you purposely trying to be problematic? Like, what's the deal? But the only one that's kind of playing a little bit different is our wizard, who we really haven't gotten to, but we will. We will. I've only introduced you to 3 of the characters, not the 4th.
Have they dipped into or played like any of their background within these sessions?
So the one that like hates orphans, one of his things is like he'll try to like steer the conversation to see if like the people he's talking to are orphans. Mm-hmm. There is this one part where him and the rogue are talking, and he's even trying to talk to the rogue and be like, hey, like, you know, so what's your story? Like, what's your background? And the rogue is actually an orphan. Like, he doesn't know his parents. And the dragonborn is trying to get it out of him. And so they had to roll against each other. So he ended up not telling him, like he rolled well enough to not tell him that he was an orphan. And so that's kind of like where this guy's taking it, is like he's trying to find someone that is. And me personally, I don't know what's going to happen when he finds out, or when he finds out that one of the people that he's talking to is. But I haven't personally written anything of their backgrounds into it quite yet, because it's still very new. Mm-hmm. I want them to get the story hook before we start bringing in the backgrounds of it. Especially because like within the sessions, like it's really only been like a 2 days time in the actual game itself. Within game. So it's like in 2 days, it's really not a whole lot of time to bring up some of these things, right? And so I've actually been texting with him separately and being like, hey, I need a little bit more information for you guys' background so I could start adding it into the campaign. And so that's what I've been doing for this upcoming session, is adding some of that. So we'll start to see that with the drow this next session, and kind of like his background and his motivations. And then at some point with everybody else's, we'll start seeing that too. So they go on and they fight this bandit camp, whatever. And then they come across this water skin in the bandit camp. And they pick it up, and it's pretty heavy. You can't tell if it's liquid. They're supposed to be liquid in this water skin, but you can't really tell what it is. And so Rom, the rogue, he's like super tired at this point because he's just been fist fighting the entire time with the bandit captain. And so he ends up like opening the water skin and like taking a drink. But as he does that, out of it pops out like a really big muscular human, like falls out of the water skin and like just kind of like poofs there onto the ground. And you could tell like this is like some sort of magical water skin. Like you don't know how, but it got enchanted somehow. And out of it comes this like really big muscular wizard named John. And so John says, like, I've been trapped in there for however long, you know, so on and so forth. And he is now the wizard of the party that ends up joining, because he's trying to find out
That's fucking tight.
how he got lodged into this water skin, like who put him in this water skin. And that's how he's introduced to the party, because he came in after the fact. And so I was like, well, he's a wizard. Let me try to find out some sort of like magical way to bring him in. And what better way than to trap him in something. Now they end up kind of like all banding together. They're this ragtag group. But one of the things too that I forgot to mention was that the bandits actually had in a tent like a big cage. And in the cage, they were working as kind of like exotic exporters and importers of animals. And so they ended up capturing a black bear. And when they pulled back the tent, they opened up the cage, and the cage had this bear in it. And the bard ended up like charming it. And so now like the bear was not like violent towards them, but also not friendly. So he was with them for the entire day, because the charm spell that he cast on him is for 24 hours. And so within those 24 hours, the bard was trying to do everything that he could to like try to like, I guess, tame it. And he ended up doing so like after like a while, after like traveling with it for a bit. And so now a bear has also joined the party. And so it's a bear and the four people. And so I was like very hesitant of like, should I add more animals? But I'm like, no, because I don't want an issue where it's like the wolves all over again.
Where it's like roll for initiative.
And it's like four.
All 10 wolves go first.
Yeah.
And then it's the party.
Right. Which I also almost want to get rid of my wolves, to be honest, because it's like, it's too much to keep up with. So the thing in the second session that it started off, they were still at the bandit camp. All right. They had just gotten the wizard. The wizard's trying to find out who the hell was the one that stuck him in here. And then they got the note out of the bandit captain's zipper pocket, or whatever, jacket pocket, whatever he's wearing. And they see that it's written by the mud sorcerer. And so they're like, well, who the fuck is the mud sorcerer? John, the wizard, assumes that that's who trapped them into this water skin. And so now he's out to look for this mud sorcerer. But they killed the captain. And so they're freaking out now, because they're like, well, Harburg told us to bring back the person that's been causing all of this havoc. And so one of the things that the paladin did was, since they were fist fighting the entire time, he suplexed one of the bandits, like just the lowly bandits, and basically like incapacitated him. He didn't kill him, but he suplexed him off like the side of a hill, and he just like took a bunch of like fall damage, I guess, and he just got like knocked unconscious. And so they ended up tying him up with a bunch of rope and then bringing him back into town to show the constable. They're like, well, we don't have the captain, but at least we have this guy. And so as they're coming back into the town, there's a bunch of commotion going on because now you have like this ragtag group of people who one of them is still all bloodied up, mind you, from the wolf's head that he put on. They just look like a weird ragtag group of individuals who have a prisoner, basically, like they're dragging this prisoner. And so like the townsfolk are all coming out of their houses, coming out of like the shops and being like, what are you guys doing? Like, who are you bringing into this town? Because they're all worried about people dressed like the bandit, because there's been a bunch of like weird sights of people like robed up, or, you know, these stories of people getting kidnapped by bandits. And so they're like, why are you bringing them into town now? And so the constable, hearing all the commotion, like comes on, is like, what are you guys doing? Like, come inside. And so they bring him inside. They start interrogating the bandit, and they're trying to get more information out of him. Like, what are you guys doing? Who's the mud sorcerer? Like, why are you here? They end up figuring out that the mud sorcerer is part of some sort of cult. And the reason he knows this is because the bandit captain was always trying to enforce on them some sort of talk about the cult of black something. And so they were like, well, we need more information. He's like, I don't know more information. And it was starting to get really tense and really like there's like a lot of back and forth arguments going on. And so the entire time behind his back, the bandit was like slowly ripping away at the rope. And so as he did that, he's like, enough. And then he went to go try to like slit his own throat because he didn't want to give any more information. But the wizard ended up like intercepting the blade like just in time as a reaction. And so they ended up like jailing this bandit. But that's all the information they got out of him. So now they're looking for what is this symbol right here. And a lot of the people that they're coming across, they're like, well, does anybody else have this symbol? Like, who else has the symbol? Because that bandit had that symbol like tattooed on the side of his neck. And so they're like, this must mean something. So they stayed the night again. They woke up and they got a tip to go to this place called Lance Rock. Lance Rock is known to house some sort of plague. So not a lot of people go out there, but they're just like, well, that is where, you know, you would go for more information or whatever, right? However, I presented that. And that's one thing that I don't remember exactly how I presented it, but I presented it somehow.
It wasn't as the host of Yo Gabba Gabba?
No, definitely not.
Shout out DJ Lance Rock.
Shout out DJ Lance Rock. But anyway, so as they're walking towards Lance Rock, they see a group of like 4 individuals. They don't know if it's like human, they don't know if it's monsters, they don't know what it is, but they see him from afar. And so the wizard, one of the things about him that he asked me personally outside of the game, he was like, hey, I'm going to make a wizard, and I know wizards aren't typically strong. He's like, so to make up for that, I want a wizard that has high intelligence, but also high strength, but I'm going to drop his charisma to -5. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because my wizard is really, really awkward and like not good in social situations. So is it okay if I do that? Like take like a negative stat to boost a different one? Mm-hmm. I was like, sure, like we could do that. And so now not only is he pretty smart and like his intellect is pretty high, but he's really strong and like physically fit. One of the things that he does to boost his strength, because his strength's not super high, it's higher, but it's not super high, is he asked if he could carry around a dumbbell. So to give him a stat boost, he is able to use this action twice per day, where he rolls advantage if he lifts before...
he gets a pump.
He gets a pump. He gets a pump. And so he sees the people, like the 4 individuals out there, and they start rushing them. And so him being like frightened about what's going to happen, he gets his dumbbell and he chucks it at him. And as he's chucking it at him, he just hears like a loud crack and a loud scream.
My leg!
And as they run closer, they see that it's a group of 4 kids, like 4 children.
Fuck.
And so he broke the leg of one of the little girls. And it turns out the little girl is the daughter of the mayor of Red Larch. And so now, between the 4 of them, they're trying to figure out how to mend this girl's broken leg. So they end up doing it through like the mending spell and like some other things. But basically, they tell the group like, hey, like we come play out here, but turn away because supposedly there's like a really bad disease in this cave, in this cavern of Lance Rock. And so they're like, okay, like, yeah, whatever. So then they approach and they get closer and they figure out that indeed there's not a plague going on. It's just something that has scared off the locals from entering the cavern. But what they do see is this like really huge stone protruding out of the dirt. And the dragonborn specifically kind of feels like ominous about it. Like he gets a sense of familiarity from it, but he can't exactly tell what it is. And so whatever, like they identify it. And on the stone, there's an engraved sign that says, like, turn away now or face the disease that plagues the Lord of Lancerock. And so they're like, well, we're going to go in and try to check it out. The paladin goes first because paladins are immune to disease. Mm-hmm. And so he like kind of goes to scope it out to see if it's all good. And sure enough, it's all good. And they end up facing a bunch of like undead soldiers. They face zombies. They face like a bunch of other creatures. They finally come across the area where you would assume is the boss's lair. And as they do that, they get closer and suddenly like just a wall of fire erupts to where they can't even get close to the area. And they start like seeing how they could put out the fire. But then one of them investigates it and turns out it's just an illusion. There's like no heat coming off of this wall. It's just the visual image of it. And so they get closer and finally they get to the boss's lair. Before anything even happens, they see kind of like this pedestal of severed arms kind of holding up this globe in the center. And in the globe, they see above it kind of like a misty figure. And this is what they see. You could like throw something through it. You could kind of like put your hand through it and nothing happens. But they notice this symbol as the one from the guy that they held captive, but they don't recognize any of the other symbols. And then finally, this guy Zayden, he comes out and he's like, well, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it magnificent? And then they're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the eye. And he's like harping about this symbol. And finally, Rom, he goes and since he likes stealing things, he grabs the globe and he tries to pocket it for himself. But as he grabs the globe, that kind of initiates combat. And so they end up fighting this guy. They take him down with relative ease. The wizard almost comes down and he almost gets knocked out, but they ended up killing this guy. He bursts into flames and erupts, and there's nothing left of him but ash. And they're like, what was that? But they can't identify the magic that caused it to happen. Then they end up heading back to town to let the constable know that they killed the Lord of Lancerock. As they're coming out, they step back by the stone, and the dragonborn ends up getting like another whiff of familiarity, and then he ends up rolling to see like if he can identify what it is. And he can identify that it smells draconic in nature. And so he ends up finding out that this stone was moved here. Like you could tell that it's not from the area, like it's not naturally from here, but it was moved here by a dragon like long ago. And so that's just like a story note for him specifically. And he could realize that because he's a dragonborn. They meet a bunch of other people in town. They meet other like small NPCs along the way. But as of this point, they get back into town. They go back to the Swinging Sword. They tell Kaelisa, which is the innkeeper. Mm-hmm. They tell her everything that happens. And she is basically thanking them because they've done so much for the town in such a small amount of time. And she offers them a free room. Like, you guys could stay here free now whenever you guys would like, whatever. And so they're about to go to bed, but right before they go to bed, this really small halfling comes up to them and is like, hey, like, I hear you guys are like heroes of the town. Can I ask you for help on something? And he looks really like stressed out, looks really worried. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to come back during daytime when we could have a little bit of a better conversation. I'm going to leave. And so they know that when they wake up, they're going to have a conversation with this individual. But that is where we left off in the last session. So yeah, there's like more details, obviously, and like more things that have happened. But that's like the main talking points that have gone on. So yeah. Do you have like thoughts on what you're going to do? What kind of character like are you thinking? Or like species or something?
That's why a part of me, honestly, like I found out about Twilight clerics and I was like, Twilight clerics are fucking crazy. And the fact that we're talking about how within stories like the fact that you have like a goblin living within this space, but they live outside of the normal
limit of the town.
The limit of the town, yeah. The way like in stories it would be like a leper. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, this person's sickly or whatever, so they live outside of the town, but everybody fucking knows about them, whatever.
Yeah.
I like that we brought up, like, aside from the bard being a drow, that there's almost like a niche about tieflings.
Yeah.
Because they present as demonic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But to tie that in with a channel that I had been watching when they were talking about cleric ideas. Well, character ideas. It was about character building. But they were like, do something different. Don't just be human fighter, human barbarian, human wizard, human everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, do something different. Don't be a high elf fucking ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be something, like if you want to do something that's different, be like a tabaxi ranger, be a tabaxi druid, be a Harengon fucking monk. Like, that's cool shit. If you're going to be a barbarian, be a bugbear.
Yeah.
Like, do something that's out of the ordinary. I think tieflings are fucking cool. But I found out about this class, the Twilight Cleric.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, what if it was a tiefling? And then it's more,
cool.
it's like this astral sort of, not based within this realm. I believe it was our homeboy that we like, Gaming Brew.
Yeah.
I think he had like a tiefling gunslinger.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck, that's crazy. But I was like, what if you did like a tiefling fucking cleric? Because I mean, Fred's a cleric. You don't have a cleric. But what if it's this sort of like, it's more of like an astral sort of, almost like a god presenting or a deity presenting, but it's outside. It's like otherworldly, I guess, is like the vibe of it. I really like, I don't know what the proper name is, but they're hippos.
Oh, shoot.
I think that species is fucking sick.
Let me see.
I think that species is crazy just because it's so fucking different. Like, it's such an extreme. I think
they're called gifts.
Yeah, there you go. I think even there is like an elephant race.
Yeah.
But I think stuff like that, like this ties into a fighter franchise called Bloody Roar. Mm-hmm. And you start off as like a human fighter and you would just be fucking fighting. And once your little rage meter would fill up and you would transform into your beast mode. Mm. So it would be like Bakariu the mole or Hugo the wolf, Gado the lion. And you would be this fucking humanoid. And then you would have this new skill set sort of where you'd go from straight punches and kicks to now you have like claw attacks and different grabs and stuff. And I'm like, I think stuff like that's tight because there was at one point, like later on in the games, there was a phoenix, there was an elephant, and I was like, fuck, that's sick. So what if you were something big like a ranger that was a fucking, a GIF?
Right, and it's outside of the norm of like what a ranger would be, right? Just like the rogue that we have, he's a half-orc. Like half-orcs are typically like barbarian classes, fighter classes. You don't really see them as like a stealthy class, right? So I think that's cool, like that idea of playing something out of the norm.
I like the idea of rangers, but I think they have a bad rap in the last two editions. I think in general, the ranger class has a bad rap.
But there's ways you could go about it too, like different. I think I've seen some PDFs of like, hey, this is what you need to do as a DM to make sure that the rangers are up to par with like the rest of your party. So if that's something that you're interested in too, like just let me know.
Like that's why I'm like, it's a matter of, because also I would like to help balance out the team.
Yeah.
Because that was the initial issue with Fred. It was like, well, what do you want to play? And, Danny was like, well, we don't have a cleric. And I was like, oh, I'll be a cleric then.
But play what you want to play. Because I mean, at this point, what I've done is I've thought about it for the group of 4. So at this point, anything else is just adding on. And I think if you want a well-balanced party, you need to think about it for 4 players. After 4 players, really, you could bring anything to the table and be fine. I need to know your backstory.
I know that too. I'm prepared to write a book. That's where I am with Fred. Just writing a fucking book, a novel. Like when you go back and you look at the Witcher series, the first book is like about Geralt. Yeah. And it isn't till second book, I think, is the Sword of Destiny. And then that's where it introduces like the idea of like Ciri. But it's like a whole, like they build up Geralt first and then they give you Ciri and everything else that comes with it. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's how that happens. It's
that's
not
the
just
backstory.
Like, it's not just like, oh, hey, it's kind of like Berserk. Shout out Berserk. Kentaro Miura he's a fucking real one. But it's kind of like Berserk. They give you the Black Swordsman arc. Yeah. And then they give you the Golden Age, which apparently I think you could digest those like vice versa. Because I think Golden Age will give you like Griffith and Guts and their story together. Yeah. And then it's like a flashback and it goes to the Black Swordsman. And it gives you like Guts being a kid and, up until he meets the Band of the Hawk. Yeah. And then it gives you like what is it, like the Millennium Falcon or whatever the fuck it's called. It's like the Falcon of the Millennium, some bullshit.
I've never watched Berserk.
Berserk is so fucking cool, dude.
I've heard.
Like for high fantasy the sake of high fantasy, like the story itself is very like, I mean, other than like some of the more precarious things that happen in the book.
Jesus Christ.
For me, it's more the backstory.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the class is one thing, but that's why it's funny, like the half-orc, because they always say like, don't just be an orc fucking rogue. But it's like the idea of a rogue, but with like a sick backstory
Yeah.
is like really appealing to me, especially if you were to do like a criminal backstory or something.
That'd be tight. I have a friend that he plays as a chef, and his goal is to find like the world's most exotic ingredients and make like delicious dishes with them.
So Sanji from One Piece.
Yeah, basically.
Shout out One Piece.
That's his thing. You could be a fairy,
Yo, the way you said it was crazy.
a furbolg.
Pause. What do you mean I'm going to be a fairy?
You could be a dragonborn, a dwarf, some sort of elf, a gnome, half-elf, half-orc, halfling, human, and tiefling. Those are your options. And then it just comes down to class, which you know the classes. So it's up to you, man. I think I know how to want to introduce your character. I think it just depends on what kind of character it is.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea. We'll see. I'm excited.
Pretty hyped.
I think more D&D is always good.
What are you up to right now, currently?
Reading the DM's guidebook, like religiously. Watching Solo Leveling, which has been incredible.
Are there a lot of episodes now?
There's maybe like 19 total.
Okay, yeah, because when I first was like gonna start watching it, there was like 7 episodes.
What do a
Cool. Okay.
peek? Anissa's watching it.
Oh, okay, I gotta watch it then.
Anissa's watching it. Like
All right,
she is.
That's my canary in the coal mine right now.
Yeah.
If Anissa likes it, I'm gonna fucking watch it.
Yeah. No, she fucks with the heavy. Today she watched today's episode and she was like, "Hey, is this my favorite anime?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me. Watch it."
Yo, if my sister-in-law, which shout out her,
Yeah, she's been watching it.
because I don't take her as an anime person.
No.
But to be honest, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what she's into. Disney, I guess, to like an extent. But I don't take her as an anime person whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the fact that like we've talked to her like in our little chat and stuff about like anime and stuff, that's pretty cool. And then she was like, yeah, like Solo Leveling. And I was like, oh fuck. Like you would expect like a newer anime fan to be like, yeah, like Demon Slayer. Like the way that we would have been like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, and
yeah.
well, like me, I'm old. There would have been like Astro Boy, fucking
Cowboy Bebop.
no, I'm talking old, fucking Gigantor, Speed Racer.
Stop crying. It won't do any good. And anyway, you have a lot of work to do starting right now.
No, that's like my dad. My dad, I remember fucking telling me. But yeah, like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But like for her to be like, hey, Solo Leveling's fucking cool.
It is really good. It is really good. I highly recommend it. And I usually do not like anime that has an overpowered MC.
Oh, is he overpowered?
Stupid overpowered.
Like off rip?
No. Oh, no. No. Watch it. Watch it. But like that's why I don't like Dragon Ball really that much. Because Goku's like powers like I'm gonna get my ass beat and I'm gonna come back stronger. And that's it.
Yo, but I'm hearing, not even hearing, like I'm seeing a lot of good things about Daima, which is cool. Shout out to Akira Toriyama. Obviously, he's now transcended, but it's cool that like Daima has a lot of
Following.
but like a lot of good feedback has come from it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, awesome.
Yeah. Daima's cool. I've seen like clips, but I haven't watched a full episode, but I hear it's good. Aside from that, I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals.
Have you?
Yeah, it's good. But I'm really looking forward to Monster Hunter Wilds when that comes out. So I'm hyped for that. It's going to be tight. What about you, man?
I am watching, there's a show on Max. It's called The Pit. Totally not anime. It's about the ER. And it starts, you with the beginning of the shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now like episode like 7. And it's now like the middle of the shift. Something like that. But the progression is a shift. It's not like, episode 1.
Yeah.
It's like you're watching like this emergency room, the shift, the change.
I heard it's like really realistic.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So that's one. Sakamoto Days on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's about an assassin who like falls in love or retires. He's like a store clerk,
Mm-hmm.
but like he's the top like assassin. And so now other assassins are trying to like get his bounty. And that's like where the story is at right now, is that they're like, well, why the fuck this Sakamoto guy?
Yeah.
He used to be a part of, so-and-so group. And so what makes him so special? Why is everybody hunting him? But because he was like the top fucking dude.
Like John Wick?
It's now, basically it's John Wick, Baba Yaga. Yeah, it's tight. It's cool because it's like It's like not serious, but the action parts and stuff are like really cool and shit.
Yeah.
It's tight. It's funny. Totally fucking like very niche at this point. It's like very dependent on like how Netflix has their, they do like Baki.
Yeah.
Or Crunchyroll brought back, or it may have been Netflix, Hajime no Ippo, the boxing anime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Kinnikuman. It's back in the day with Ultimate Muscle, but it's Kinnikuman, Kinniku Muscle. They have their series that they did like the remastered series.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, in the beginning, it breaks through like from back in the fucking day when it came out, like in the 80s, maybe like late 70s.
Uh-huh.
And it gives you like all the backstory of that up until now to like this current story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fucking cool. I like it. Like the action series, the action sequences are like really fun. And like the way they work out their issues, it's like we have 3 different factions because they're pro wrestlers. But it's like, from different parts of the galaxy, whatever.
Yeah.
And we have like the Segi Chonin, the whatever Chonin, and like it's just like one is the best, one is the real ones, and then this new faction comes out and they're like, we're actually the real fucking Segi Chonin. We're like the actual ones. Mm-hmm. But if these fucking guys fail when they like are defeated, they have to kill themselves and shit. It's just weird, like weird problem solving. But that sounds
tight.
It's like weird, like real, like teenage boy anime. It's cool. I like it. It's fun. But I like Kinniku Muscle.
Yeah.
Because it's all, it's about pro wrestling. And I think that's it. As far as anime, like that's what I'm watching. Because everything else we got caught up on. But The Pit is a really good show. There was, what is it? It's on Apple TV though. Severance.
Oh, I heard it's good. I don't have Apple TV.
I don't have Apple TV. That's such a fucking downside.
Dude, at this point, I'm paying for cable with like all the...
That's one thing as far as these streaming services go. I hate that like I wanted to watch From.
Yeah.
And for a long time, it was only on like MGM Plus. Mm-hmm. What the fuck is MGM Plus? Like just put it on a normal streamer.
Yeah.
And then now it is. And I come to find out that the 3rd and final season or something is like really bad. Or it's goofy. And then I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, do I watch it?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Game of Thrones.
But we didn't know that going into Game of Thrones.
We didn't. But I know this.
But it's like Yellowstone too. I know that, like, well, I don't know. Do you watch Yellowstone?
No, I don't.
I won't spoil it for you.
I don't have an interest to watch it.
Oh, well, the main guy, he ends up like fucking off and he doesn't want to do the show anymore, like in person. So I'm like, why am I going to watch it? Like, why am I going to submit myself to that kind of torture, I guess? But yeah, I mean, shout out to Game of Thrones. It was great until it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. We're caught up. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Oh, well, not ready yet. I have to make the character, obviously, but I'm hyped.
That's all I got, man.
That's all I got, man. We're caught up. Playing catch up.
Playing catch up.
Not mustard.
No.
And then right here is on the
Mustard.
And that's how
Come out with the flare jeans.
That's how the episode's gonna end. The women's 28.
29.
29?
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Turn his TV off. Turn his TV off. Turn his TV off. Turn his TV off.
I wear a 36. Awesome, dude. See you kids. You know where to find us. We have a social link and all that other bullshit. Good night.
Did you see the table shaking? Am I tripping? Were you tapping the table?
That might have been me.
Oh, okay.
I hope.
Yeah.
Oh, that might have been me.
Yeah.
I'm over, like, I'm leaning on it.
Yeah, okay.
But also, ghosts.